2007. It's time for CrossFit Total. Brandon Domain, Rob Orlando, Mike Arsenault with you here at the North Park at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. And it's time for that throwback and also another one of those main site benchmarks.
The CrossFit Total is a 1 rep max in your back squat, your standing strict shoulder press, followed by your max deadlift. For today's event, we're only going to have 4 minutes to do each lift. You'll move from one to the next, so it's a total of 12 minutes, and you only get 3 attempts at each lift, so you need to know your weights here.
In 2007, Nicole Dehart won this at 530 pounds. Every single woman in the field with a listed PR on back squat and deadlift alone is already ahead of that without adding the press.
Well, Brandon, that just shows the evolution of the sport and how much stronger these competitors have gotten.
Here we will have our first 14 to take on this event, and on page number 1 we're looking at 10 of those athletes, including one of the athletes in the top 10 of the point standings, Madeline Sturt, in 7th in lane number 3. Her best prior games finish was 35th a year ago. On our second page, Bethany Shadburn will be in lane number 12. She currently holds the 11th points position, but somebody to keep an eye on, and we were right on this one event ago. We'll see if we are again. Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, 34th in event 1, 4th in event 2. And so the first window is open, 4 minutes for up to 3 attempts for a max rep back squat.
And you can see the barbells are already preloaded with weight. This way it saves time for the athletes. They don't have to spend time grabbing plates off the floor. The barbells are preloaded. They can get their weights picked really quickly. And we can see we've got Berline coming out of the gate with 263 pounds.
And this is going to be an event where she can do some damage control. The top American woman at the games last year, finishing sixth, enters this event in 26th place after the first 2.
Well, she's sitting on a stat, at least posted, as a 295-pound 1 rep max squat.
285 on the bar for one of the pound-for-pound strongest women in the field, a Gilfadottir, and she didn't like something there. She re-racks it before taking an attempt. LeBlanc-Bazinet at 310, and that looks solid for a first.
And Brandon, the keys to today's event is to get on the board. You can see all the athletes being pretty careful about that opening lift. You want to make sure that you get one on the board because you can't afford to miss right off the beginning because you've only got 4 minutes. It's your responsibility if you bail to pick the bar back up and put it back in the rack. And then the second thing is every pound counts, so you want to make tiny little increments if you can. You want to throw on those 2.5s just to chip away and try to add 5 pounds if you can.
So 270 good for Courtney Haley. She went with the strategy of knowing that she was going to get that first one. Her first attempt on the squat was 215, second was 270. Top 10 athlete after 2 events. Madeline Sturt is good at 265, not bad for one of the smaller athletes in the field. Brista Mayfield, an attempt at 250. 320 on the bar for Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. Her first was 310, which is in the books. This is only a 10-pound increase.
I actually think that's a smart increase. You don't want to go too big. Her posted 1 rep max is 335 pounds, so she's getting really close to that. As event 3 in the course of the day, I think this is a good move for her to go 320.
And that looks smoother than her opener at 310. Both of them very smooth. That one looked even better. She'll have a 15-pound advantage over Brenda Castro, who's in at 305 pounds, as we have 90 seconds remaining in this opening window. Jennifer Smith with actually I believe that we don't have a scoring there, as we'll check that out, as Brenda Castro, second place right now at 305.
And that's a good-looking squat. You can see it looked like she got no rep there, possibly on depth.
320 is going to be an attempt for Brenda Castro. 330 will be the next attempt for Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, as we're 1 minute away. So we're almost in a holding pattern, as in that first 3 minutes, most athletes already went through 2 attempts.
I was just going to say, it doesn't make much sense unless you have to get on the board. It doesn't make much sense to really rush this one. Take your time. Make sure you're in the right position to get that last lift.
Final 30 seconds. Bar in motion for Brenda Castro. Trying to fight out of it and unable to do so at 320. So this will just add to the clubhouse lead with 2 heats remaining for Camila Blanc-Bazinet in terms of the squat. She's in at 330, and she's feeling it right now. After her heat win in event number 2, she's leading the way through the first of 3 lifts at the CrossFit Total, event number 3, as they instantly move into the press. So as we're at the third of the way mark, it's Camila Blanc-Bazinet in at 330, Ike Gilfedatter and Brenda Castro in at 305. Lauren Fisher, the only other woman to cap at or hit the 300-pound mark at 300 on the button.
And Brandon, in this event, the strict press is going to be the smallest, obviously the smallest number by a huge portion. So you don't stand to gain a ton. You can add 100, 115, maybe even 125, 135 pounds, but where you're really going to make up ground is on the back squat and the deadlift.
I've actually seen a couple of athletes just walk up and hit that opening lift on what was set up on the bar, which is 90 pounds. Another one of the athletes to do so. We saw Courtney Haley do that. Madeline Sturt has done that. Leader at the third of the way mark, Camila Blanc-Bazinet, 125. That looked easy, and that's not a surprise for somebody that. But there's a little bit of something that we're noticing there, though, was with the movement itself on that.
Well, Brandon, one of the things that I noticed was that she pushed the bar up. We can see that she pushes the bar up, gives herself a little bit of daylight under it, and then allows the bar to bounce off the shoulders. In my opinion, that should be a no rep. That movement has to be completely strict. Legs locked, big breath in, and press straight up.
For an update on Camila Blanc-Bazinet, let's go to Mike Arsenault.
Here's the comparison of how far the female athletes have come since 2007, the last time we had the CrossFit Total. The winning score in 2007 was 530 pounds total for all 3 lifts. Camille is already at 455 pounds, so she's on the precipice of getting to that 500-pound mark without even touching the deadlift.
It's impressive how far this sport has progressed in the past 11 years. As Tennille Burline in at 140, it was a good rep at 135 for Camila Blanc-Bazinet, who will continue to hold the lead. And here's the second for Blanc-Bazinet, and again with that little stutter step. And we're looking for some clarification on and if there was some allowance on that in the rules.
I mean, maybe the standard is that the legs are completely locked out, but from my understanding, you need to be completely still.
And you see Adrian Bosman make his way over there, the head judge on this event. As he's briefing her, and I believe he caught wind of that. It might be saying, hey, that's something that can't happen.
And that's what the judges are here for. They're here to make sure that it's a level playing field across the board.
Now, in the meantime, we're in the final minute of this second 4-minute window. The deadlift is the only lift remaining. That'll be minutes 8 through 12. Camila Blanc-Bazinet continuing to lead, 35 pounds ahead of this woman, Brenda Castro, who's at 430. 130 on the bar. And just like on the back squat, tried to fight out of that for a good 5 seconds and unable to save it. And a no rep there. They caught it that time, the double bounce, and it's going to be an instant no rep for Camila Blanc-Bazinet. Burline turning this almost into a standing incline bench press. She's in at 150. So we're 10 seconds out. Don't see anybody making an attempt, and the shoes are being changed out for some of these athletes for a second straight time as we move to the deadlift. Now, what is the importance there of switching the shoes out?
Well, now as we get into the deadlift, you want the heel to be as low to the floor as possible. You don't want that lifter. You don't want the lifter that you would use on a squat where it's going to elevate your heel. Now you want to be pasted to the floor. That's why you'll see a lot of power lifters lifting Chuck Taylors, because it's a completely flat-soled shoe.
So as we move into this final window, it's Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet continuing to lead the way, 35 pounds clear of Brenda Castro, 40 pounds up on Lauren Fisher. Nate Gilfidotter and Jennifer Smith round out the top 5. Smith is in at 315 on the deadlift, and briefly she will see her name atop the leaderboard as her name highlighted in blue with 730, that her current score. Everybody else will be highlighted in red with their total pounds lifted with their best rep thus far. Just like that, the ladies here in heat number 1 are passing not just every single woman that took on this event in the 2007 games, they're passing about half the field that did this on the men's side. 3:15 for the leader through 2 of the 3 lifts, and Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet will retake the lead at 780. Margot Alvarez with 385 on the bar. She's already hit 365. This would put her 20 pounds behind LeBlanc-Bazinet. That was so smooth for about 80% of that lift. The final 20% was some fight. But Alvarez is in at 760. Fisher has moved into second at 765, 335 on the bar for Tennille Berline. She stands that up. Now Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet at 780 continuing to lead. Everybody else giving chase to her. And we're seeing some big numbers in that race to possibly do that, as it's going to be 400 the next attempt for Margot Alvarez. That would still put her 5 pounds shy of Camille's score of 780 provisionally. That number about to go up, as Camille good at 330, so you saw that number in the blue box increase a little bit. So 400 would still be good for second provisionally for Alvarez, as we're about a minute away. And most everybody on the field already through 2 of their 3 attempts, and they're waiting for the absolute last moment. Lauren Fisher, you saw good at 365. That puts her at 790, 5 pounds shy of Camille's leading score. 400, first 400-pound attempt we're seeing here. And it's Margot Alvarez, 6-time Games athlete. And count it, 400 for Margot Alvarez. That'll move her, hold her into third, 20 pounds back at 775, and she made up some ground after the back squats. Final 20 seconds on our 12-minute time cap. Camille looking to increase her score beyond 800 and will do so. 810 for LeBlanc-Bazinet, 805 for Fisher. Jennifer Smith will pull 375. She'll be in at 790, and those will be some good scores to beat with 2 heats remaining, led once again by a heat win for and Camille provisionally leading the way at 810. We're going to have to see how that plays out. Remember, we had a little bit of that controversy with her lifts there. We're waiting for a ruling on that, but as of now, she has the lead at 810, 5 pounds good of Lauren Fisher, and let's see how she got there.
And Camille's back squat was strong from the first rep at 310 all the way up to our third rep here at 330 pounds. You can see she's super excited, only 5 pounds off her 1 rep max. That's a great lift and a great start for her. Berline's press, we can see as she takes the bar out of the rack, big, huge breath in, gets herself locked in tight, and as she makes that move up, she bends her body backwards. That looks like an old school pressing movement. They used to do that in the Olympics, but it was CLB with a little bit of controversy on her standing strict press, getting a little bounce off the upper part of the shoulders. That's not really a strict press, and the judges were able to come over and correct that on her third lift. But Margot Alvarez with a 400 100-pound deadlift to finish this thing off. Strong finish.
So as of now, the current leader is Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. That is under review because of her form, her lifts on the press portion of this. So as of now, she leads the way. Lauren Fisher might wind up on top after heat number 1 at 8:05. Jennifer Smith, Tennille Herline in at 7:90. Margot Alvarez rounding out the top 5 at 7:75. As that is heat 1 of 3 on the Women's CrossFit Total. Event number 3 coverage continues next.
The feats of strength continue. It's event 3, the CrossFit Total at the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games. Thanks for being with us today, everybody, on the opening day of competition. I'm Sean Woodland, alongside 2009 CrossFit Games champion Tanya Wagner. Mike Arsenault is on the field. We've gone from gymnastics now to weightlifting. It's the CrossFit Total, 3 movements.
3 movements. The ladies are going to do a 1-rep max back squat, shoulder press, and deadlift. They're going to have 4 minutes to complete each movement. They have a maximum of 3 attempts to make those lifts. We'll add all the weight together. That'll be their total combined score, and that will be the number that they'll get. And it's 12-minute, obviously 12-minute event for them. For a little perspective, this is a repeat event, and it was at the inaugural CrossFit Games back in 2007, and these were your women's totals.
That just shows you how the athletes have evolved and how the test needs to get tougher every single year. This is the second of 3 heats, 13 women on the field. Becca Voigt is among them, making her 10th individual appearance at the CrossFit Games. Back squat is the first lift. They will have 4 minutes at each station. They have to make at least 2 attempts. They have a maximum of 3 attempts. As Becca Voigt gets to work on loading her barbell. If you watched Heat 1, you saw Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet put up a score of 810, but right now that is under review because of her shoulder press and the way she went about accomplishing that. But the time, or the score to beat, I should say, 8:10 right now, unofficially, for Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. Lauren Fisher second at 8:05, and that's Alessandra Pacelli completing her first lift. E-shirt at 3:05 as well is good.
Pacelli is one of their stronger athletes, and E-Church, the rookie here, who we saw strength be no problem for her at the regional competition.
Sarah Sigmundsdottir gets her first lift completed.
She needs to have a big event here at the CrossFit Total. She is sitting back after that 21st place in the first event of today.
Sandra Pacelli right now is your leader on the field. 315 pounds is good for her as we are a minute 30 into this first 4-minute round.
Your timing for these lifts are so important. You need to make your first one count, and then after that you need to know if you're going to do another attempt or how many more jumps you want to make with your weight.
Sandra Pacelli, after 2 events, is in 17th place overall, and that lift will count. So 335 now on the board for Alessandra Pacelli. We're more than halfway through this opening round of the back squat. After this, they will transition immediately into the shoulder press.
And for a lot of these women, like Pacelli, after she does her shoulder press, she will have beat just about everyone in 2007. And that's without the biggest lift, the deadlift, which she will put up over 300 pounds.
This is Sarah Sigmundsdottir at 285.
Strong on the way down, was conservative there on the way down and a little hesitant on the way back up, but did make the lift.
Sigmundsdottir adding more weight to her bar. Right now she is in 20th place overall, a 21st place in the opening event. That was a criterium earlier this morning, and then a 14th in the 30 muscle-ups for time. She's got to work her way up the leaderboard here. 2 more events, including this one, remain in the opening day of competition. This is rookie Amanda Barnhart. 325, and that will count for Barnhart.
Came up quick. And no, not going to make another attempt there. Smart move. With 4 minutes, you really do need to know where you're going to rest. You don't want to go into the press fatigued. You want to go in there with your heart rate up.
Christy Aramo on the left. She's going after 320. E. Church on the right at 330, and Church is going to fight it, and that will count. And Christy Aramo's lift is good as well. So Sandra Pacelli looks to be your leader after the first lift at 335, but Church just 5 pounds back. Amanda Barnhart at 325 is in the hunt as well, as are Christy Aramo. Paige Semenza has some work to do now over the final 2 lifts. Let's send it down to Mike Arsenault for a little more perspective on what's taking place here on the competition floor.
Well, we've compared the women to the women back in 2007. It's not really a fair comparison. They're blowing even the winning total out of the water. With the men's competition in 2007, there was 37 competitors. 20th place had a total of 781 pounds. So far, 4 women have already beat that in heat number 1. So we're seeing women here in 2018 that would be between 10th and 20th place in the men's competition back in 2007.
Thank you, Mike. And remember, in 2007 at that Dusty Ranch in Aromas, all you did for the CrossFit Games was show up and throw your name into a hat, and they just had at it. There was no qualification process. There's really no prize money on the line, but it was the start of something very big, and it has grown into what you are watching right now on your screen.
I bet those people back in 2007 had no idea we'd be talking about them today. And the sport would grow this to this capacity, and that these athletes would be this fit.
Sarah Sigmundsdottir hit her first lift, as does Sandra Pacelli. Now Amanda Barnhart has put herself in the lead as she hit 125 pounds, so a total of 450 for her, and she's trying to hold off that one to E. Church, who's just 10 pounds back. Another 4 minutes, so at the 8-minute mark, they will transition to the final lift. That's the deadlift. 4 minutes here on the shoulder press is Barnhart loading her bar to 140 pounds.
Back in the day, you know, back in 2007, 2008, one of the goals was to have a body weight strict press. If you could do that, that was one of those golden standards. Something really hard to achieve, but though you saw a lot more strict press early on, that was easy. Really strong for Barnhart.
135 is good for Sarah Sigmundsdottir. Sigmundsdottir right now in this heat, not in the top 5, and she is off to a slow start. 20th overall after 2 events. Sandra Pacelli, meanwhile, has put herself back in the lead. 470 total pounds so far. She hit 135 on her shoulder press. That is Whitney Gallin. 145 pounds on the bar. Less than 2 minutes to go before we transition to the deadlift.
Another really strong athlete. Her weightlifting background goes back to high school. She was a 2-time Florida State champ. So she has been lifting for a long time.
145, this is Whitney Gallin, and she will not make it. No rep.
And it may have been because that lean, if she broke her knee, if her knee bent even slightly, there's an advantage. So you have to maintain complete tension throughout your entire body, starting with your feet. No bend from the hip, no bend at the knee, and no bounce off the shoulders.
145 for Sigmundsdottir is not going to happen. Sandra Pacelli continues to lead the second of 3 heats, 470 total pounds and counting, attempting 145 on the press. Pacelli won't be able to hit that.
Coming off the 30 muscle-ups, this is the movement in the total that's most affected. Their shoulders are tired, there's fatigue. Galin made that one.
So 150 good for Whitney Galin. And that'll move her into third, tied with E. Church at 450 total. Let's take another look at Amanda Barnhart, the rookie's final lift on the shoulder press.
Little Fight was able to get her head through, similar to a handstand push-up. When you can get your head through your arms, it helps out so much to get that weight balanced through the center of your body. Same thing here with the barbell.
And Barnhart looks like she's going to take the lead into the final lift at 475 pounds. Alessandra Pacelli sits in second, and Amanda Barnhart really has some ground to make up as the rookie after 2 events. Is in 37th place overall, 27th in the opening event, and then tied for 38th in the muscle-ups.
It's going to be close because Barnhart has a listed 1-rep max deadlift at 390 pounds. Pacelli's is listed at 4, so it's going to be close. Every pound matters. The jumps matter for these ladies. And one really cool thing I love about the heavy lifts, you know, we've seen snatches, clean and jerks, more of your Olympic lifting, sexy lifts. People have been doing a lot of that. I love that this is the raw strength. Take the speed out of it. Dig in. How strong are you across 3 different strength movements?
Here's Whitney Galin at 365 pounds, and that will count. China Cho, meanwhile, hit her opening lift as the standings shift, but it's Galin now at 815 total, who's your leader by 5 pounds over Amanda Barnhart. Sarah Sigmundsdottir loading her bar to 345 pounds. This is Sandra Pacelli at 365.
Good lift. She's a
like she
strong.
Has a little more in the tank there.
Surprised actually that it went that fast. Maybe she could have gone a little heavier for that first lift.
Rookie E. Church, who is a corrections officer full time, makes that lift at 375 count.
She finds the balance between her full-time job and training for the CrossFit Games and showing her composure here on the big stage with everyone.
Amanda Barnhart, another rookie, alongside E. Church, has 375 pounds on her barbell. Whitney Galin at 390. That will count. Less than 2 to go.
Nice lockout. Really like the way she snaps her legs tight, really stands up strong.
Galin and Pacelli swapping the lead back and forth as Pacelli looks to overtake her now with her lift at 385 pounds. That will count for Sandra Pacelli, and she's back in front by 15 over Whitney Galin. Barnhart with another lift.
Barnhart's form right on. She keeps her back so nice and straight, really maintains her core, keeps that midline the entire time.
Here's Sarah Sigmundsdottir at 365, and Sarah Sigmundsdottir is just not going to make that happen. So Sarah Sigmundsdottir is off to a surprising start here at the CrossFit Games.
I'm shocked. Seeing her game face early on, I thought this is a completely different Sarah. I'm telling her, I want to see the smiles. I want to hear about the pizza you're going to eat. Let me see the giggles, hear the giggles. I want to see Sarah get back for the fight like we've seen in years past.
Whitney Galin with 4:05 on the bar. 45 seconds remaining in the heat. As the crowd gets behind her, Sandra Pacelli is on the left. She's going for 400.
Use the crowd's momentum.
Galin will hit hers. Now 20 seconds for Pacelli. Pacelli's got it with 10 seconds to spare. And Barnhart just hit 390, so the standings here continue to shift, but it's looking like Sandra Pacelli will take the new lead, 870 for the CrossFit CrossFit Total with 1 heat to go.
The crowd got into that. They were helping get that barbell up off the ground. When you lift heavy like that with a deadlift, you have to know it's going to be a fight. It's not going to pop off the ground, and that is hard to do, to stay in that grind.
Sandra Pacelli looking to lock up 100 points with 1 heat to go as she currently sits in 17th place overall. But E-Shirts got things started off nicely with that squat of 330 pounds.
She was really solid with her squat. She came up right out of the bottom and really kept that form while she fought to get out of there. That's a sign of how strong she is. Barnhart's presses, she made these look easy. Can't tell she did 30 muscle-ups before this. Really strong in her shoulders. Textbook form there. And Pacelli's big lift here stayed in the fight and made that lift. Locked out real nice at the end. These girls got to show us what they can do and lift the big weights. Galen's 405, her final lift. The Florida State weightlifting champion back in high school. This is like old times.
1 heat to go, but it's Alessandra Pacelli now who has the mark to beat. 870 pounds, edging out the rookie Amanda Barnhart. She's looking to move up the leaderboard as well. Whitney Galen had the monster lift at 405 to finish third in the heat, and it's Sarah Sigmundsdottir at 810. Paige Semenza, the rookie, rounding out the top 5. But 1 heat remains here in the CrossFit Total. And some heavy hitters will be taking the competition floor. It's the final heat of event number 3 on what is the toughest day in CrossFit Games history from Madison, Wisconsin and the Alliant Energy Center. I'm Sean Woodland alongside 2009 CrossFit Games champion Tanya Wagner. Mike Arsenault will be joining us on the competition floor. 2 events down, 1 to go. We've had bikes, we've had rings, and now it's all about the heavyweights.
The big lifts, yet another event that tests a different skill for these women. It is the CrossFit Total. They're going to lift a back squat, a shoulder press, and a deadlift, and we're going to see how much they can lift. They'll have 3 total attempts. They have to take a minimum 2 attempts, and they'll have 4 minutes at each movement to see how much they can get.
The first time this event was done in competition were the very first CrossFit Games. That was in 2007 in Aromas, California. And here are the winning numbers for the women. My, how far we have come.
None of the women here today were there back in 2007, so we need to retest this. And by the time they're done 2 of their lifts, they're going to surpass those weights, many of them. And they haven't even gotten to their deadlift weight, so a lot of growth in this sport, a lot of strength improvements among the women's field.
13 women in this 4th and final heat, and among them are the women we expected to contend for the title of Fittest on Earth. Tia Toomey in lane number 1 currently sits in 2nd. Laura Horvath, the 21-year-old rookie out of Hungary, is your overall leader after 2 events. The last time a rookie led the CrossFit Games, 2015, and it was Sarah Sigmundsdottir after 5 events.
But Laura Horvath, I am so impressed just being able to be among this field of competitors as a rookie and be in this position is just incredible. But let me give you a little background about her. She is being coached by none other than Michelle Atandra, familiar name we know, but Cara Saunders. I am watching because there's no way we can talk about big weights and not bring up her name.
1 back squat. 3rd and final heat of event 3, the CrossFit Total, is underway. 4 total events here on day number 1. The most events we have ever had on a Wednesday. Tia Toomey comes into 2nd place overall, just 8 points back of Laura Horvath, loading up her barbell. And Tia Toomey is a woman who is used to lifting in high-pressure conditions in front of a very big crowd.
She is. Just took the gold at the Commonwealth Games this past April. Much different lifts, but instead of lifting 2 different lifts, she gets to do 3 here today. She'll do just fine in this event and kind of ride on this, sitting in 2nd place. Oh, that was surprising. That was a huge surprise. Bar fell off her back there, not sure what happened.
Now it's her responsibility to get it back up onto the rack, so she's going to have to waste some time here stripping the weight. Meanwhile, Brooke Wells has the heaviest lift so far, 285 pounds on the back squat. Laura Horvath is 2nd, tied with Cassidy Lance McWhorter. Kristen Holt and Annie Thorsauer, all 4 of those women hitting 275 pounds.
This is just eating up so much of her time. So she has to move on to plan B, won't get all 3 lifts in, needs to make another attempt and needs to make this one. But now she has the mental, that little nervousness. Am I going to make this one? Do I go up in weight? Do I keep the same weight? Katrin Davids-Daughter looked really strong on that lift.
Jamie Green has also hit 285 pounds, and now Cara Saunders 315.
She is so strong. You put that woman, her legs, she can squat so much weight that it's just so impressive. First lift, 315 with ease.
Laura Horvath, her lift is good.
Another athlete that we talked about with the big weights, Brooke Wells. She has great depth, gets all the way down there with her hip crease below the knee for that squat. She hit that 325 after a failed lift there.
Here's Toomey at 325. Much better for the defending champion, and that will put her in the lead now on the back squat. 90 seconds to go in this lifting window for the women. They have to make at least 2 attempts. They can make a maximum of 3. And Cara Saunders is moving up to 320. Cara Saunders hits that. And she has plenty of time to make one more attempt, as Tia Toomey has a 5-pound lead over her. So Toomey and Saunders, the 2 Australians, have separated themselves early. And now Laura Horvath, your overall leader after 2 events, taking a run at 310 pounds. And smartly taking as much time as she needs here, not rushing the lift.
There's no need to. You know, if you're right there and you want to make it, there's going to be no time for another lift. So take it to where you know you need.
Horvath on the right, Tia Toomey's on the left. Horvath will hit that. Toomey going after 330 pounds, and Toomey will make it easily.
I'm in shock of how Horvath made that lift look.
Now Cara Saunders with big weight, 330 pounds is good. And they will now move on to the shoulder press as Toomey and Saunders. Remember last year, the 2 of them in that exciting final event. And at the end, they were separated by just 2 points in the overall standings, with the title of Fittest on Earth going to Tia Toomey, and here they are again going head-to-head.
It was exciting last year, they were first and second going into that race. Right now, Cara Saunders, remember, she's in 13th place right now. Tia Claire Toomey is in 2nd place, so Cara Saunders needs these points over Tia Claire.
Saunders needs to start thinking about the women who are ahead of her in the overall leaderboard, but right now she's ahead of most of them. The score to beat belongs to Sandra Pacelli, who did that in the prior heat. 870 total pounds. The 105 is good for Laura Horvath if she gets a score on the board. Annie Thorsauer at 125 pounds.
I like the speed on her bar.
Tia Toomey will hit 125 pounds, as that puts her back in the lead now.
Similar to handstand push-ups or dips, toes to bar, this is a movement that uses and requires a small muscle group that once you fatigue and you start failing, it's really hard to come back. So little jumps is the name of the game with the strict press here. And you'll see a speed change when they get to that red line of a nearing failure.
Cara Saunders jumped into the lead with that lift of 135 pounds, and that thing went up quickly. Here's Carrie Pierce at 145 pounds. And that will be good for Carrie Pierce. And now Toomey at 130.
One of the telltale signs that he's just too heavy or that you're going to struggle there is that when they get that big lean. But I think they try to require and recruit a little bit more of a straight line angle. Catherine David's daughter was able to use some of that angle and make that. But you have to keep that bar so close to your face for that straight line.
Tia Toomey now sits in a tie for second place with Brooke Wells, who just made an attempt at 140 pounds. And Toomey's going to go after 130 again as Cara Saunders is in the lead by 20 pounds at 475 total with one lift, the deadlift, remaining. Toomey would make that lift, so she's creeping up on Saunders now at 460 for Toomey. And Carrie Pierce, as we approach the 1 minute mark here in this second 4-minute window. 155 on the bar for Carrie Pierce.
Carrie Pierce was so strong at the bench, the Linda event and the regional, so strong with that upper body.
And 155 is good
nice
for Carrie Pierce.
Kept her back, kept her core in line, stayed tight.
Cara Saunders looking to match her with 155 on the bar for her. And will not happen, but Saunders will still have the lead. Less than 30 seconds to go here, and Saunders is getting set to transition over now to the deadlift as Catherine David's daughter at 145 pounds. And that won't go for David's daughter, who comes into this event in 6th place overall. She's 44 points back of overall leader Laura Horvath, but just 2 points back of 5th place Christy Aramo. Overall leader coming into the event. Laura Horvath now putting on some different shoes to take on the deadlift. This is Cara Saunders at 145.
That was the good lift that she made there before her final failed attempt.
Annie Thorisdottir also at 145. Iceland Annie Thorisdottir on the podium last year. After a couple of disappointing performances at the Games, she was 3rd in 2017, but the 2 prior years to that, in 2015, 38th overall, and then in 2016, 13th, but she got back on track last year and back where we are used to seeing her, and that's on the podium with a medal around her neck.
She said she's always felt like every year at the Games she's gotten stronger, she's gotten better, and I think that was the confidence last year, being on the podium again and feeling what that feels like. Catherine David's daughter has gotten so much press from being the Iceland champ that I'm sure sharing that is something that Annie would be okay with, getting some of that attention back as well.
Kristen Holt and Emily Bridges are the first 2 to hit a successful deadlift. Now Cassie Lance McWhorter, so that's why they have now moved into the front. Annie Thorisdottir with her lift at 340 pounds. And it's Cara Saunders at 335, so she's back in the lead now. 810 total pounds. Remember, the score to beat belongs to Alessandra Pacelli at 800 now 60 pounds unofficially for Pacelli. Laura Horvath 370 is good. Tia Toomey with 395. So now the big numbers starting to roll in on these opening lifts here, and the final lift of the CrossFit Total, the deadlift.
Tia Toomey opening with 395. That's her opening lift. That is just incredible.
This is Toomey at 395.
Oh my word. I'm speechless to open up with that weight.
Now Toomey will be making a run at 410 pounds. And remember, she competed for Australia at the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics in weightlifting. 410 for Tia Toomey. And right now, Toomey ahead of Laura Horvath, and Toomey is only 8 points back of Horvath in the overall standings. Horvath with 390 pounds on the bar.
Well, that's a solid lift, though, right there, Sean. Really kept tight. She has a narrow stance, but she really just kept the form, kept that tension, and held on.
That moves her into 3rd place in this heat right now at 830 pounds. Tia Toomey at 870 looking to win this event, as some of the scores from the prior heats are still being officially updated. Right now, the way things stand, Tia Toomey has the top score. 4:15 on the bar. Let's send it down to Mike Arsenault, who is watching Tia Toomey here on this lift.
Thanks, Sean. We have Tia and Shane, her fiance and coach, right on her eye line, playing a little Price is Right. He told her to hold off. Now she's going for the 4:15. He was rating strategically, and it works out as she makes 4:15, and that looks like it'll put her up top of the leaderboard here in Heat 3.
The Toomey at 4:15 is good. Brooke Wells just nails 4:15. But Cara Saunders has fallen back. She was the leader heading into this lift. Now Laura Horvath at 4:05, and that will count.
Wow.
Gets in just inside.
Every second counts. She used it till the end and made it.
And every pound counts, and a lot of big lifts were rolling in there at the end. So I have to see how the scoreboard shakes out here in this third and final heat. But Tia Toomey with a total of 875 pounds. That is unofficial and can still be adjusted, as the judges and scoring department will make sure that all the lifts were tabulated correctly. Cara Saunders walking off the field as she fell back in the pack there in that final heat on the deadlift. She had the lead heading into the final lift. Annie Thorisdottir, solid performance from her, but that young lady, Laura Horvath, may not have the overall lead heading into the Marathon Road this evening, but she has been impressive on day number 1.
She sure has. But this thing started off with Tia Claire Toomey failing her first back squat. I was shocked. I was a little bit nervous, but she really redeemed herself with a 330-pound lift, and from there she did not look back. So way to get that bugs out there early. Cara Saunders was right there with her, trying to keep pace, hit her 330 lift, was aggressive with those numbers and her jumps. Carrie Pierce on her strict press with 155 on the bar. This was her lift that she made nice and easy. Solid form. And then here's Tia Toomey wrapping things up, waiting until she got the green light to go. 4:15 comes up pretty easy, and she's pumped about that. She should be.
Let's send it down to Mike Arsenault on the competition floor.
Thank you, Sean. A lot to unpack, Tia, here in your CrossFit Total. Let's start with the back squat, where you failed your first attempt. What happened there?
Oh, honestly, I think I just got a little bit caught up in my own head a little, and I think also because we've been waiting out the back a little while, so you kind of cooled down. But after that, I got the crowd going, and yeah, they really helped.
Now let's move on to the deadlift. I saw you had your coach and fiance Shane right in front of you, and he was kind of giving you the numbers of what you wanted to hit. Did you hit the 3 lifts that you wanted coming into this event?
Not really on my back squat, but yeah, I think I'm very happy with my strict press and my deadlift, and I just want to thank so much for everyone here for cheering us on, and it was really fun.
I just want to go back to that deadlift again. So you were about to lift, and Shane told you to hold off as you waited for some of the other girls to go. What was the reasoning behind that decision?
Just strategy, just, making sure that we got the right weight on the bar.
And speaking of strategy, what is the strategy as we head to the Marathon Road coming up later this afternoon?
Survive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The 2017 Fittest Woman on Earth unofficially getting the event win as she edges out Brooke Wells by 5 pounds. Amanda Barnhart with her best finish so far in the competition. She needed that. 3rd place unofficially, Alessandra Pacelli, and then another rookie, E. Church, rounding out the top 5 as she ties with Whitney Gallin. And it's Laura Horvath, your overall leader through 2 events, who will finish in 7th place. The women are done with the big weights. The men are coming up next. 3 events down for the ladies. Event number 3 coming up next. Our coverage of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games from Madison, Wisconsin continues.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Dave Castro, the games director, said day one is going to be the hardest day of competition, especially day number one in games history. As if it wasn't hard enough, we now have a downpour here in Madison, Wisconsin, as we're ready for heat number one in men's event number 3. It's time for the all-you-can-eat weight buffet, the CrossFit Total, our third event of the opening day. Brandon Domain, Rob Orlando, Mike Arsenault with you in rainy Madison, Wisconsin. There's no cover, but thankfully they're not doing anything too crazy. They're just lifting here. You can do that in the rain.
The CrossFit Total Classic CrossFit workout, and today's event is going to be a squat, a standing strict press, and a 1-rep max deadlift. All 1-rep maxes for all 3 of those movements. You have 4 minutes to complete each movement, and then you'll move on. You get 3 attempts, so total time cap 12 minutes, and you're going to be efficient from one place to the next.
This is the second time we're seeing this event at the Games. The first time was in the inaugural Games in 2007, where 4 men cleared 1,000 pounds. On the back squat and deadlift alone, we have 9 men in the field that are already over 1,000 pounds without the press even included. Here in heat number 1, we will have a field of 13, including on this first page of athletes in lane number 7, Zeke Grove, second in event number 2. He sees himself in 6th in the point standings. On our second page, in lane number 11, Logan Collins, your event 2 winner, 7th in the point standings. But we have 3 rookies to keep an eye on all over the 1,000 pound mark, but we don't know how the rain is going to affect this.
Well, Brandon, the rain shouldn't be too big of a deal here. These athletes, we want to be ready for the unknown and unknowable. This is just one more element that gets thrown at them.
Well, the bars are going to be a little bit wet, but the weight is still going to be heavy as we start our first of 3 windows. 4 minutes for 3 attempts at a 1-rep max back squat.
And Brandon, they've got, like you said, they've got 3 attempts here to get on the board with the heaviest possible lift. And they've got, their goal here is to get on the board early, make sure you get that first one. The second lift, you're going to try to jack the weight up, and the third should be shooting for the stars, hoping for the best. Because if that bar does hit the ground, it's your responsibility to pick it back up, load it back into the racks.
We said that there's 9 men with 2 of these lifts that total over 1,000 pounds. 3 of them rookies in this heat. One of them has 425 on the bar, and that's Jared Enderton, who could make good use of those keys here in this one. As Frederick Agidius, the lone men's alternate to make it after disqualifications happened at regionals. He's in and leading the way at 4:15 with his first attempt. It might be short-lived. Former power lifter Jared Enderton on the bar at 4:25.
That looked like a great squat, really fast speed down into the hole, came right back out at 5'6", 195 pounds. He is really, really strong.
Excuse me, correct myself there. Not former powerlifter, former strongman. Bit of a difference there between the two. Still both very strong.
One of the things we should notice, too, is that at one point in Jared's life, he was over 300 pounds in body weight, so he's down over 100 pounds.
So Enderton leading at 4:25. Frederick Agidius has declared 4:35 for his second of 3 attempts. Logan Collins, one of the smallest athletes in the field, has put up 4:15, 7th in the point standings, and despite being the 3rd smallest athlete in the field, he has the 14th highest total of back squat and deadlift combined coming into the competition, as Rogelio Gamboa is in over the 400-pound mark. $435 for Frederick Agidius. And that was easy.
Again, one of the things that I look at is when we're coaching the back squat is to make sure that we get enough speed that there's elastic energy to come out of the bottom like a spring. You don't want to get pinned at the bottom of that squat.
The rain continues to fall, and for an update there, we go to Mike Arsenault.
Thanks, Brendan. Well, the rain's actually sorely needed. It was very hot so far today, very humid, so the cloud cover, it is more comfortable here on the field. It's not raining sheets, but it is consistent rain. So, Rob, the question I have for you, as we see this rain hitting the platforms, what should these athletes be concerned about if the platform gets a little bit slick and they have over 400 pounds on their back?
Great question, Mike. I think what we see with most CrossFitters the way they squat is it's a more narrow stance. They don't squat like a power lifter where they're going to open their stance really wide, turn the toes out. So I don't see slipping being an issue. It's not going to be an issue at all on the standing press because your feet don't move at all. Same thing on the deadlift. So honestly, the only tricky part here would be making sure that you've got chalk on the bar when you get up to the deadlifts.
Jared Enderton continuing to lead the way. He's declared 475 for his final attempt, which would be 20 more than his current mark of 455. We have a gaggle of athletes in at 435. Frederick Agidius, one of that pack, as he's making his attempt at 455 to match Enderton with 30 seconds until the 4-minute cap. Not bad for somebody that 2 weeks ago wasn't even supposed to be here. 470 is good for Royce Dunn, another one of the super strong rookies here in this heat. Enderton has moved up from 475 to 480, and he's good at 480. 5'6", 195, throwing up 480 like it was nothing. As the 4-minute mark has come and gone, so they will transfer from the squat to the press. Alexander Caron had to dump out of a 455 attempt. So that one of the 3 men in the top 10 of the point standings here in this heat. Caron is 6th after the first lift at 435.
You could see him with a little bit of a limp there as he walks away. He was shaking his right knee, so he's trying to figure out, like, you know, is that going to be an impact? Again, on the strict press, it shouldn't be. There's no knee bend allowed whatsoever.
And let's take a look at what happened here with Caron. Oh. You can see that foot just kick out from underneath him. And he didn't have, it was the left foot that slid out, but that right foot didn't have a good landing either when that happened.
It looked like the plates came down. They might have just nipped his foot as it hit the ground.
So Caron, a rookie that was having a very promising start to the competition. We'll see how he progresses. And if he could shake that one off, because he's loading 188 up onto the bar. Meanwhile, Royce Dunn has taken the overall lead at 655 pounds. As his name highlighted in blue as the heat leader. Everybody else will be highlighted in red. We won't have the minus numbers. We're just going to have the total amount lifted with your best lift at each station. A no rep there for Jared Enderton at 215. And as the rain continues to fall, let's go back down to Mike Arsenault with another update.
5 members of the event staff just came onto the floor and dropped a couple of towels at each person's lifting platform for the shoulder press so they can dry down their bar before they lift. And there's probably a good chance that they'll take that with them as they head to the deadlift, although they do have chalk, which will help with the grip. If it continues to rain, the deadlift bars that have just been sitting there, they will be quite slick.
Thank you, Mike. And we've seen a lot of the athletes wiping down the platform as well as this has gone, as Agidius good at 170. That will move him up to 625 pounds, bringing him back into the top 5. Dunn continuing to lead the way. And Enderton got that no rep at 215. He's going to take another shot at it. And that one was good. And that will put him back out in front at 695 pounds, 20 pounds clear of Dunn. So it's a couple of rookies leading the way. As Logan Collins, make it 3 rookies leading the way as Pablo Chalfon is in at 650. Update on Caron, he was good at 205 pounds on the press. He sits now in 5th place, tied for 5th at 640. So might be some good news there that he was able to kind of shake that loose, it appears.
Looking down the line here, we've got about 45 seconds left. There's no real reason to rush. You're probably on your 3rd lift. You can use the entirety of that 4 minutes. So my guess is that we're going to see a bunch of athletes step up and grab that last lift in the next 15, 20 seconds.
And now we have a clear look at the field there, as next to step up to the bar, 220 for Royce Dunn. The first to attempt a full 100 kilos. He's good, 220 in for Dunn. And he'll be 5 pounds behind Enderton as it stands right now with 15 seconds remaining at the station before they move to the deadlift. Enderton with 225 on the bar. Smooth. So put Enderton over 700 pounds, and we haven't even gotten to the deadlift until right now. Keep in mind, we showed you a little bit ago, the top score in 2007 was 12:25, set by Connor Banks, almost 100 pounds clear a second. We're already at 700 with 2 lifts done, 1 remaining, and it's the one that you can put up the most weight for most of these athletes. So again, it was Connor Banks, 12:25, and only 4 athletes are over 1,000. We're going to have most of this heat able to pass that number, I presume, at this point. Again, it's another 4-minute window, 3 attempt maximum. And this is moving a little bit slower because not only are they loading up the bar, we're seeing most of the athletes taking their time with the platform, cleaning it off, trying to dry it up as much as possible. Sean Sweeney good at 4:55 as he had a quick load of that bar. And for a moment, he will see his name atop the leaderboard at 10:55. So the first man to clear 1,000 pounds, Sean Sweeney, the CrossFit Cowboy, making his second trip to the games. 4:75 is going to be the declared weight for Frederick Agidius. 4:55 for Marquand Jones was no good. Now you can move up and down with your weight selection. It's not locked on there that you can only go up. 485 for your Latin America regional champion, Pablo Chalfun. Jared Enderton starting at 475. Goals.
Yeah, that was
easy.
a great deadlift. It was really efficient.
525 for Alexander Caron. We were wondering if he was going to be okay after that slip and fall on the back squat, and he made 525 look like child's play.
I think he's okay, Brandon.
And we can move on from that question as he's now back up into second place at 1175, 5 pounds behind Enderton. 545 for Royce Dunn will be his declared lift. Logan Collins, 170-pound athlete, 505 on the bar, nearly triple body weight. And the Muscle Up winner in event number 2 is among the leaders in CrossFit Total as well. Talk about well-rounded athlete there for Logan Collins. So 455 good for Saxon Panchik as Royce Dunn continuing to lead the way, but Enderton could take the lead briefly. 505 is good for him. He'll still sit in the second position, 25 points behind, and Royce Dunn has been the first person to officially clear the winning score in 2007 as he's at 1,235 pounds. His next declared weight is 565. That'll be a 20-pound bump from 545 as we're in the final 35 seconds until our 12-minute time cap. On the third and final of the 3 lifts that make up CrossFit Total, 565 on the bar for the Australian rookie. It wasn't easy, but it got there. 565 good for Dunn. Caron, another one of the rookies. He's up with 555. Enderton at 525, and we're seeing some huge scores here in heat number 1. With 2 heats remaining, the race is on as it's going to be Royce Dunn leading the way. 1,255 pounds for a back squat, a press, and a deadlift.
It was a really great performance by Royce Dunn. He was strong in each of the different movements. 470 on the squat, 220 on the press. It's really well balanced. It's impressive to see an athlete because a lot of times what we see, Brandon, is somebody who's really good at pressing often isn't the best puller on the deadlift. So to see Royce Dunn that well-rounded, very impressive.
A man that needed to win the final event to move himself into the qualifying positions out of the Pacific Regional. Dunn wins, but another impressive athlete was Enderton.
Jared Enderton put on a show on the back squats, looked really strong from start to finish. His press was just as good, 225 pounds. He's got the right levers for that at 5'6". And Caron, so strong on the deadlift. We were questioning whether his foot was going to be okay, but at 555, made that look great. Royce Dunn, 565. It was a little bit slow once he crested his knees, but he pulls those shoulders back, gets himself in position for a 565 pull.
That's just 8 pounds under his listed PR of 573, and it was just enough for Royce Dunn to have a 25-pound lead after heat number 1. 12:55 will be the score to beat Jared Enderton, also beating the top score from 2007 at 1,230 pounds. And Alexander Caron went from a scare on the back squats to third provisionally through 1 of 3 heats, with heat number 2 in Rainey Madison coming up next.
Sun's out, guns out. Times for a good old-fashioned bro sesh, Bill. The heavyweights are on the competition floor. We've gone from gymnastics now to just pure feats of strength. Thanks for staying with us today, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland. Alongside Bill Grundler, Mike Arsenault is on the competition floor. It's the third event of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games, and it's all about pure strength.
It is pure strength, and you know, we've done this back in the original games in 2007, and we're going to just see how far these athletes have come with their strength this year, 2018.
Speaking of 2007, that was the first time that this event was done at the CrossFit Games, the very first CrossFit Games, and it was Connor Banks who had the top score, 1,225 pounds. Plenty of men are going to eclipse that mark here in the final 2 heats. In this second of 3 heats, 13 total athletes, including some guys who are used to putting up some big weight. Lane number 3, Nick Urankar is one of them. Scott Panchik, lane number 7. Right next to him, Rasmus Anderson in lane 6. And then Bjorben Carl Gudmundsson, another guy who excels at moving weight around. But man, Nick Urankar has been licking his chops for this event.
Well, it's a strength event, and this is what he's known for. We've missed him the last couple years at the games. He made himself back in here. He had an injury last year, but we're looking to see some big, crazy circus feats from Nick, and he needs this, especially coming into this event. Alex Anderson, again, if there's a strength event, or a power event, he's going to do really well here. He's got one of the highest numbers overall out of the back squat and the deadlift, so to see all 3 lifts put together, it's going to be something special for him.
Second of 3 heats is underway. We start with a 4-minute window. For the back squat, they have to make at least 2 attempts, and they have a max of 3 attempts. The top score right now, unofficially, belongs to Royce Dunn at 1,255 pounds.
So much weight. And here's the thing, because they only get a max of 3 attempts, you have to have a heavy warm-up in the back. So these guys should be doing a lot of heavy lifting, get that body ready to go, so that they come out here and go big. And then, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And what I mean by that is you want your first one to count, so you're probably going to be sitting somewhere around 75, 80, 85% of your 1-rep max. The second one needs to be a good 90 if you feel good, and then the third one's go for it. So if you get to 2 out of 3, that ain't bad.
Nick Urankar is going to open with 425. He's now on the left of your screen. Scott Panchik at 440, and that's good. So these guys making their opening lifts look relatively easy as Panchik takes the early lead.
You know, the fact that we are seeing an opening lift at 440 pounds, you got to remember, these guys did their warm-up, and then they came out to the floor. It was about 15, sometimes around 20 minutes. So they cooled off. They weren't sitting there under a lot of load. So that's impressive if they could start up that high.
Panchik is adding more weight to his bar. 440 pounds is good on his first lift.
You know, we talked about that percentage coming out on your first lift. Scott has a 1-rep max on the back squat of 500 pounds. So you take 80% of that, it comes out to 400 pounds exactly. So he's above that, about at 85%, which is right where he needed to be. And you saw how comfortable he was with that lift.
Scott Panchik has been captain consistency at the CrossFit Games. his 7th straight appearance, he's never finished lower than 6th, but never finished higher than 4th. And right now, Pancic sits in 24th place overall, a 27th in the opening event, the Criterion, it seems like ages ago, and then 17th in the 30 muscle-ups.
You know, you're right. He just is so consistent, and one of the things about being in that position, you get kind of overlooked. But Nick doesn't like to be overlooked, so he wants to throw a lot of weight on his bar. We see that 455, and the thing is, look how narrow his feet are, and he jumped up super fast. Usually you see power lifters a much wider spread of their stance, extremely powerful.
Nick Urankar has hit 455 pounds, and Pancic has hit 470.
Again, look how narrow that is. Right under his shoulder. And I say that's for a good squat position, but that makes it that you have to go down a lot lower. And I didn't see his knees buckle in, so a very strong stance in that real narrow position.
Alex Anderson, meanwhile, currently sits in 4th place in this heat. He made 430 pounds, and Scott Pancic is making the jump to 495, and he has a minute remaining in this window. The lift needs to be completed by the 4-minute mark.
So for Scott, this is right under, oh, he's jumping up. A little bit of Price is Right gaming going on.
500 pounds for Scott Pancic. Here's your rank card, 475. And your rank card will hit that.
Not too shabby.
And here goes Scott Pancic for 500 pounds.
Big breath. Look at that, out of the bottom. Wow, didn't even slow down. No shake, no nothing. Tied as 1 rep max. Great start for Scott Pancic.
Pancic did that with Ben Smith in the team series last fall, so he is no stranger to putting 500 pounds on his back and squatting it. So Pancic now with a good lead heading into the shoulder press. One more look at that 500-pound lift.
Look at the confidence. Boom, and right out. His body did not wobble. It did not bobble. It didn't break anywhere. That was pure confidence.
Great lift from Scott Pancic, and now we move on to part 2 of the CrossFit Total, the shoulder press. So Pancic with a 25-pound lead over Nick Urankar. And once again, Scott Pancic, who has never finished lower than 6th in his 6 trips to the CrossFit Games, is trying to work his way up the leaderboard as he currently sits in 24th place overall after 2 events.
So Scott has a great start. We got to remember, we're adding these 3 lifts together. This next lift, that strict press, you aren't going to have the big number differences that you would in the other one. So the fact that he's got a 25-pound jump on Nick Urankar, that's good. But Nick Urankar, if you look at the size of this guy's bowling ball shoulders, he's not going to have any issue pushing weight up overhead. Look at both these guys. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, strong lifts. Now we saw that 220 earlier in the last heat. I expect to see the exact same thing here by these 2 gents.
Elliot Simmons in the background hits his lift. Now Craig Kenny at 225 pounds.
Wow.
If you blinked, you missed that. That was incredible.
But you know what? That's exactly how it should be. You don't want to sit with that bar in that front rack position for any long. Come right off the rack, get ready to push and go. The longer you wait, the lower that bar is going to come down onto your shoulders.
Craig Kenny with that lift ties Jared Enderton so far for the best lift in the shoulder press. Nick Urankar now at 195 pounds. Pancic loading the bar to 200 pounds meanwhile.
I'm surprised Nick isn't jumping up. I mean, he moved that last one so easy. Yeah, see, that
no
was
problem for Urankar, and Scott Pancic does it 5 pounds better on the right of your screen, so Pancic moves his total to 700 pounds. Craig Kenny, meanwhile, making his 2nd appearance at the CrossFit Games, and when he was in high school, he played high school football, and to train, he had a 1965 Ford Falcon that he used to just push up a hill.
That's pretty good. I thought you were going to say that he trained to have the Magnum PI mustache. Because
you can't teach that, Bill.
That is impressive, and it's been impressive for a couple years now. I like it, Kenny. Good job.
Craig Kenny now at 240 pounds. His younger brother, John, actually once appeared on the show Survivor.
Big yell. Watch how fast it comes off his shoulders. Sets and goes. Boom!
And that will count for Craig Kenny, 240. That's the new top shoulder press so far, as we are in the second of 3 heats here in the CrossFit Total. Nick Uranker on the left trying to get the crowd fired up. Scott Panchik, meanwhile, hits another lift. Panchik at 210 is good, and he remains in the lead. Here's Uranker at the same weight.
You know what? Beautiful press. Did you see how that's a strict press? Strict. No movement, no bobbling, no pressing, no kind of trying to, get a little momentum. That was just straight right off the shoulders.
But Scott Panchik has opened up a big lead here as we're inside 30 seconds to go in this 4-minute window. 710 pounds for Scott Panchik, as Dean Linder-Layton had 225 on the bar. And here goes Craig Kenny.
Wow. What? No rep.
That will not count for Craig Kenny. But he now sits in 4th place in this heat, 675 pounds. But now Scott Panchik setting himself up nicely.
And he needs that protection. If you're talking about the deadlift, his 1 rep max is 520 pounds. Uranker's at 555. Look at that beautiful lift by Craig Kenny.
And that was his 2nd attempt. And that got no reps.
And that was, I believe, because of the foot. You saw his foot just slightly move at the very, very end. It's a tough one.
Now on to the deadlift. The score to beat still belongs to Royce Dunn, 1,255 pounds. So that is within reach for Scott Panchik, as Cody Anderson has hit a lift, and that has put him in the lead temporarily. But Scott Panchik will change that once he hits 475 pounds. Nick Uranker, meanwhile, loading the bar at 505 pounds. More than a minute has already gone by here in this final 4-minute window. Lucas Eschlinger at 505. That is good for him. And here's Nick Uranker.
Wow, he just did that beltless also. He took the belt off to do the 500 pounds. If you see that, that belt's for stability. Keeps you nice and tight in that midline. Took it off before he started. Crazy.
And more importantly for Uranker, he takes the lead in this heat by 5 pounds over Scott Panchik at 1190. Creeping up now on the mark to beat of 1255 unofficially. That belongs to Royce Dunn. Now Panchik making a jump to 500 pounds. Two minutes to go before we hit the 12-minute time gap.
So all these athletes, they have a minimum of 2, maximum of 3 attempts. So they have that rest time. Try to get the weights on as fast as you can so you can prepare yourself. And then again, you want that last lift to be on those last 20 seconds so you utilize all that time.
545 pounds on the bar for Lucas Eschlinger, making his 3rd appearance at the CrossFit Games, and he will hit that lift. Eschlinger's best career finish here last year when he finished 18th overall in the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games. And now Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson at 545 pounds. And that will count for BKG.
Beautiful lift.
The standings continue to shuffle as Eschlinger is now tied with Panchik at 12:10. Uranker hits 525.
And you know what? I just think he's playing it too conservative. I'm not really sure why he's sitting down here too low. He's able to move those weights easily, so he needs to make the jump. I mean, you're back in the games. Make the jump, Nick.
Willie Georges hit 555. He is the first man from France to qualify as an individual here at the CrossFit Games. Eschlinger, Uranker, and Panchik all tied at 1,210 pounds. So barring a drastic jump from one of those 3, it looks like Royce Dunn's mark of 1,255 pounds will hold going into the final heat. Less than 30 to go before we hit the 12-minute time cap. Now 555 for Nick Uranker, and Scott Panchik just hit 525 to move into the lead, but that won't last because now Nick Uranker at 1240. Lucas Eschlinger hits 580.
Man, it came off the ground so easy.
Here's 590 for Willie George.
What?
2 seconds to go, and that's going to count for the Frenchman.
Man, he timed that perfect. That's what you want. You want to finish it right at the buzzer and to hit a 590?
How many weights did Willie George lift? The answer, all of them. Wow, what a performance there from the rookie from France, as he is right now tied for 5th in this event unofficially. Lucas Esslinger is going to take the heat, but he was 10 pounds shy of overtaking Royce Dunn for the top score of 1,255 pounds.
You know, that great, we talked about those lifts, how important they are to go for the big numbers. And Scott, that 500-pound lift, tied his 1 rep max. We've seen him do this before in competition. And look at this, just pure strength out of the bottom. No hesitation. And usually at that second spot, I didn't see that at all. Craig Kenny, right off the rack, right to the shoulders, and immediately up into the air. Very smart way to do that. Don't want to hang out with that bar too long, but 590 for Willie George. Beautiful stand-up. Again, looked extremely powerful. Way to get those numbers up on the board.
Unofficial results from the second of 3 heats has Lucas Esslinger edging out Nick Urankar, as Esslinger made up a ton of ground there on the deadlift. Scott Panchik drops to 3rd, and it's Willie George with that monster deadlift in 4th, and it's Alex Anderson rounding out the top 5. With 1 heat remaining, Royce Dunn from Australia still has the top mark as the big weights are going up. We will have the final heat coming up next from the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Final heat of event number 3 here on the opening day of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games from Madison, Wisconsin at the Alliant Energy Center. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Glad you can be here. I'm Sean Woodland alongside Bill Grundler, and it's Mike Arsenault who is on the competition floor. Prior event was all about gymnastics, and now we flipped the script again, as this one is all about strength.
100% strength. What do you have? And you know, this is a little different than the Olympic lifts, which are very dynamic and explosive. This is just pure grunt power.
CrossFit Total is a CrossFit benchmark. It was first done at the very first CrossFit Games in 2007 at that Dusty Ranch in Aromas, California, and it was Connor Banks who had the top score of 1,225 pounds. That has already been beaten by multiple men. 13 athletes on the floor in this 3rd and final heat, including your overall leaders. Adrian Moonwiller in lane number 10 is tied with Matt Fraser in points, but Moonwiller has the tiebreak because he won event number 1. But Matt Fraser looking to track him down here in event number 3.
You know, on National Swiss Day, it's kind of interesting that you have a little Swiss up there at the top, and he's been very impressive in that. I mean, on the bike race, he was impressive. Gymnastics, impressive. And he's extremely strong when you look at how his numbers compare to everyone else across the board with just the back squat and the deadlift. He's sitting in a 7th place position in the field. But then again, you have someone like Ben Smith who's sporting the beard. I like it, looking very rough and rugged here. 4th overall with his 1 rep max back squat and deadlift. So I think also we're going to see something special there. Another athlete that needs a good event here, Patrick Vellner. Rough start with that bike race. Tried to get himself back in there with the muscle ups, but again, it's a very strong athlete overall. He's got, I mean, honestly, if you look at the back squat and the deadlift, his numbers are higher than Matt Fraser, so it's a great position for him to be in. He needs to finish off this day well going into that last event.
This one is all about strength, but what do these guys want to keep in mind now as they attack this event?
Well, you know, it's a pretty fast deal, 4 minutes on each one, so you want to make sure that you're very warm before you get out here. Lift a lot of heavy weights so that nervous system, central nervous system is ready to go. Once you are ready to go out here, you need to think 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You want at least 2 of your lifts to count. Go for a big one on that third, but you're probably going to start at about an 80% or so, then go 90, 95, and then do something special.
Ben Smith is going to hit his opening lift. Now Matt Frazier will hit his as well. 430 is in the books for Ben Smith. Cole Sager just hit 425. And now Matt Frazier at 445 to take the early lead. Adrian Moonviller is your overall leader. The question is, for how much longer, though?
You know, he's got a 1 rep max of 485, so the back squat isn't necessarily his best. He's a little bit better on the deadlift. You compare it to some of the other guys like Ben Smith, who's got a 500-pound back squat. Even Matt Frazier has a 485-pound back squat. So all those guys look very comfortable. Vellner sitting at 430 here on this lift. Nice lift with a 455 overall being his 1 rep max, so not bad. He's sitting right at that 95%.
Patrick Vellner, 23rd overall coming into this event. Now Cole Sager with 435 pounds on the barbell. Sager, 5th overall. Moonviller has 445 pounds on the barbell.
Wow, that was a little slower than I'd expect him. You usually want to get that little reflex bounce down at the bottom. I didn't see any of that with Adrian.
And now Matt Frazier, 465 pounds.
That looked good.
Still looks like he's warming up.
Yeah.
Ben Smith, 455 pounds. Past the halfway point of this first 4-minute window.
Nice lift.
The mark to beat still belongs to Royce Dunn, 1,255 pounds. That man looking to chase it down and also looking to take that white leader's jersey back that has basically become his. The last 2 years, he's just loaning it out right now to Adrian Moonviller. 460 pounds for Adrian Moonviller as he tries to keep pace with Matt Frazier.
Now, if you look at the difference between the way Adrian lifts, it's very controlled. So you saw him come down very, very easy. The downside with that is that you don't have any bounce at the bottom, and you're actually wasting a lot of energy going down. You see some of the athletes bouncing out and trying to get down there and get back up as fast as they can to save that energy.
Patrick Vellner will hit that. As we have 40 seconds left in this opening back squat window. Moonviller is going to go for 465. That would, at the moment, time Matt Frazier. Frazier now, as Moonviller misses his lift. 485 for the champ.
Look good. And he's happy about that. I'll tell you what, one of the things that Matt said earlier in the open is that he was bummed that he was in the lead. I think he kind of likes having someone chase him. It kind of gives him that competitive feel again. He wants those juices flowing.
The past 2 years when Matt Frazier has won the CrossFit Games, he has taken the overall lead for good after 3 events. We could have deja vu all over again right now. First 4 minutes is done, and now the athletes transition to the shoulder press, and they will have 4 minutes again to log their best lift, a maximum of 3 attempts in this 4-minute window. Patrick Vellner sits in third after the back squat, 455 pounds. He's tied with Ben Smith, but it's Matt Frazier with a 30-pound lead over everybody.
Now this is going to be the lighter lift of the 3 lifts, obviously, so you're not going to have as much variation on the lifts between all the different athletes, but I think one of the things that you will see is how long does the athlete keep the bar on their shoulders when they come off the rack. Are their elbows up very high, or are they down low so they immediately can start their push? Those that start that push sooner are going to get a much better lift.
Adrian Moonviller was with a no rep at 185. Not sure why. May have had a slight bend in the legs, but they have to be completely and totally strict. They can have no assistance from any other part of their body. No dip in the legs. And Moonviller may have had a little bit of dip in the knees as Cole Sager hits his lift, and now it is Matt Frazier at 185. No problem.
Nice lift. Again, you want that first one to count, just to kind of get something on the board, a decent number to get something on the board.
John Colte has left into second place, 655 pounds for him, and it's Matt Frazier at 670, who is still your leader.
See a bunch of 200s on the floor, people taking their time, getting themselves prepared.
Brent Fikowski is a guy that we haven't talked a whole lot about here on day number 1, but he currently sits in 11th place overall, 9th in the opening event, 13th in the 30 muscle-ups for time, as Patrick Vellner goes for 200 pounds, and a no rep may have had too much arch in his back, or his feet came up. Thing. Yeah, his judge indicating the right foot.
Tell you what, that's the most frustrating thing, to get a no rep because your feet are moving.
Moonwiller will hit 185 pounds, and Brent Fikowski, you saw him before that, was adjusting his rack. He has 200 pounds on the bar. Now Matt Fraser at 195 as he continues to widen his lead. Noah Olson hits 215. And he moves into a tie for second place. Cole Sager did not get 220 to count, but he still has 90 seconds here in this second 4-minute window. But they can only make a maximum of 3 attempts.
And he had that lift, it was locked out, then his foot moved, and because it didn't show the control, they gave him a no rep.
There's Ethan Helbig at 225 pounds. Took 5th at the Atlantic Regional to make it to the CrossFit Games for the first time in his career. "60 seconds to go. Brent Fikowski at 210.
Wow, nice.
I think that counted for Brent Fikowski, who now increases his total to 645 pounds. Matt Fraser continues to lead at 680, and now Ben Smith at 205.
Nice.
And Smith will hit that. Fraser at 205, no problem.
Looked exactly the same as the 170 he did.
Cole Sager's going to take a slight jump and go for 225.
Keep your feet down. There we go.
And that'll count for Cole Sager. Lucas Oakberg has moved into second place with John Colte. Cole Sager is now in 4th, tied with Noah Olson. And now it's on to the deadlift. Let's take a final look at Noah Olson's last lift at 220 pounds.
Watch the way he does wide stance, so he's very secure. You can see him kind of shifting to the left or the right a little bit, but very strong. Didn't even get too much of a lean back that we've seen some of the other athletes do. Good lift.
And now on to the deadlift. So Matt Fraser leading the heat at 690, but Josh Bridges just hit a deadlift to put himself temporarily in the lead at 800 pounds. The top mark is still 1,255 pounds unofficially, and that belongs to Royce Dunn. And that has stood since the first of 3 heats. This is the 3rd and final heat here, the 3rd event of the day. 4 events total here on the opening day for the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games, the busiest and probably the most difficult day we have ever had to open the competition to crown the fittest man on earth. Sager 455 is good.
Good lift by Cole. Now, he's not known for his deadlift, so the fact that he's able to sit up there, get himself close to 500, that's a plus for Cole.
Sager had his worst career finish in a deadlift event, the Ranch Deadlift Ladder in 2016. Finished 40th, dead last. Here's James Newbury at 5'10", as Patrick Vellner is in the lead at 1,160 pounds. This is his lift at 505 that put him on top of the leaderboard here in this heat.
Love it. See that? Not a whole lot of wasted time on the setup. Just grab that bar and grip it and rip it.
Patrick Vellner, who last year had to dig himself out of a hole after finishing 36th in the opening event. He's in a similar situation now. 23rd overall, but event number 1, he finished 35th, so nearly identical as Noah Olson hits 500 pounds. Back to Vellner at 565.
Man, that's a jump.
Less than 2 to go before we hit the 12-minute cap. Vellner's on the right, Fraser is on the left.
Wow.
565 is good for Pat Vellner. Frazier will hit his lift. Frazier may not be winning this heat.
But let's think about who needed this. Vellner needed this event, so he had to go big. And if you're going to jump up 70 pounds over Matt Frazier on a lift, now granted, Matt Frazier's not known for a massively heavy deadlift, but beautiful and aggressive attack by Vellner. I love that. That was awesome.
Matt Frazier, like I said, he's not winning the heat, but he is ahead of Adrian Moonwiller, so there's a very good chance that once again, after 3 events, that man could be your overall leader.
Well, real fast, let's think about what we have left. We have a long row later today. So guess what? We are blasting their back with a very, very heavy deadlift. So even though some of these athletes they're risking it. They're going for it. They have to. Someone like Matt Frazier just has to hang in the mix. As long as he knows where he is, that's all he needs to do. Vellner needs a big lift. Matt Frazier didn't need a big lift.
And Vellner is lining up for a huge lift at 595 pounds, less than 30 to go. So plenty of time for Pat Vellner. Frazier's on the right. Pat Vellner at 595.
Man, that didn't even look hard.
Right now, that would be good enough for second place in the event if his total of 1250 officially stands. James Newbury can hit 555 as we close out the final heat. And that man, Pat Vellner, looking to lock up a second place finish as Royce Dunn, unofficially from the first of 3 heats, is your event winner. But Pat Vellner needed to swing for the fences and knock one out of the park, and he does that in event number 3.
A little bit of jostling here between Matt and Pat. You know that he was saying, oh, I got you. Think you're bad? I got you.
Vellner gets the 94 points unofficially if the second place result holds. Matt Frazier right now would be in 8th in the event.
And he looks so confident and powerful on the squat. Yeah, narrow feet, that's that Olympic lifting power that he has. Cole Sager with a beautiful 225-pound press, kept those feet anchored into the ground, got that one to count that round. But a 595-pound deadlift pulled off the ground without any hesitation, without any bobble. And you're right, Sean, he needed to swing for the park, and he did. Beautiful lift.
Pat Vellner, 23rd coming into this event. Second place finish here. Remember last year he went from 36 all the way to 3rd to finish up, and now he is climbing up the leaderboard once again. Lucas Esslinger will take 3rd. Panchik and Naranka rounding out the top 5, and it's Matt Frazier, yet another top 10 finish as he takes 8th. But Vellner is standing by with Mike Arsenault.
Pat, a fantastic performance here on event number 3, but I want to go back to event number 1. How do you maintain your composure when things don't go the way you want to start off the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games?
Well, unfortunately, I've got some experience bombing event 1, so I guess it's the same as last year, unfortunately. I just got to figure it out. But I mean, fortunately, we have 4 events today, and there's a lot of points still on the table. It's a long weekend, and I know that. But you just got to dust yourself off, and I got to stop making a habit about that. It's pretty bad.
How difficult on the CrossFit Total to warm up and then have to wait 10 to 15 minutes in the corral before trying to hit big lifts in the squat for the first portion of the CrossFit Total?
It's different. I mean, you got to game it a little bit and figure out, I mean, you want to be a little conservative coming out, but you do only have 3 attempts. And we saw, I think, on the strict press that some people get a couple no revs for things, and that can be very costly, and you only have a limited window. So you do have to gamble a little bit, but at the same time, if you miss lifts, it's very costly. So some strategy in there.
And speaking of a gamble that paid off, 595 pounds of the deadlift, the biggest lift we saw on that movement throughout the heats. How close is that to your PR?
I've actually never tested my deadlift PR, really. That would be a new PR. But I kind of messed up. I should have just put 2.5 on and pulled 600 for everybody. But anyway, maybe next time.
So we had a tough event number 1. You've crawled back toward the top of the leaderboard. That might put you in the top 10 with your performance at event 2 and event 3. The marathon row coming up. How do you think that's going to be sitting on a rower for that long?
I don't know many people that have ever sat on a rower for that long. Personally, I don't think I've ever sat still for that long. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a long slog, and everybody knows that. So you're going to earn those points. 100 points for 3 hours on a rower seems like a cheap deal compared to the guys who got 100 for 2 minutes of muscle-ups. But anyways, it's going to be the same for everybody, so we got to buckle up. I'm sorry for the spectators who might hang out in the beer gardens and then come by at around 2.5 hour mark.
And maybe bring one for yourself. Great job. We'll see you in the Coliseum.
Cheers. Take care.
Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here, or should I say Matt Fraser is. History repeating itself as Matt Fraser, overall leader after 3 events, and Patrick Vellner making another charge after a bad finish as he goes from 23rd to 9th.
Very impressed with Matt, as always. But, you know, we got a lot of new names up at the top of the board fighting, so he may not just be up there all by himself. I'm excited for the rest of the week.
One event remains on day 1 of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games.